Recently, people have been saying we're in a new golden age of fighting games. Part of the reason is the myriad of re-releases we have been receiving, such as the Capcom collections, the Mortal Kombat collection, and of course the many SNK all fighting games that we have been receiving recently, like SBC Chaos, KOF 13 Global Match, Kizuna Encounter, and of course Fatal Fury Real Bout 2. All of this with rollback have sparked the conversation of what is to come, of course. These are generally well received re-releases, especially because they generally stay loyal to the arcade experience. A game in question that people want to be brought back is of course the King of Fighters 11, but people do not want a copy-pasted arcade port like they did with SBC Chaos and among other games. To many, the perfect 11 port already exists in the PlayStation 2. But we also need to address this. Is SNK even bringing back KOF 11? Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Square here. Today we're going to talk about why so many, me included, want the PS2 port of 11 and not the arcade port with playable Magaki and Shion. As I said previously, generally speaking, there is a positive reception towards the recent arcade re-releases, particularly because they are arcade faithful. However, there is a bit of a small but somewhat growing sentiment that we may not be getting the best versions of the fighting games that we could get. Don't get me wrong, it is great that many of these games have made their way into modern systems with functional online, but as we look back on the ports we used to get then compared to the ones we get now, you can help to worry that we may be getting an unnecessary inferior experience. I will say, as much shit Digital Eclipse got in the past for their previous collections, they made the right call, including the handheld ports of Mortal Kombat. Many people think this is unnecessary, but I disagree. I believe being able to look at the entire history is important, which is why I'm making this video. Now, we can talk about the console ports versus arcade ports, but that is a topic for another day. We are here to answer what makes the PS2 version the superior experience to the arcade version in the case of KOF 11. Believe it or not, even all the way back in the 2000s, it was known among developers that it was necessary to have content in fighting games as opposed to just have them replicate the arcade experience. Not everyone was going to have an actual human opponent to fight all the time, and eventually beating arcade mode over and over, it was going to get old. This is why the PS2 release, they didn't just let you do a run with only one character or playing traditional KOF without tag, but they also included a series of challenges for you to beat, with very fun conditions like reflecting all the projectiles, defeat all the bosses, stay alive for as long as possible, and so on. The game also comes with tons of unlockables when playing this and the other modes. The PS2 version also includes extra stages and an expanded soundtrack. Not only does it have the arranged soundtrack, but it also has tracks that weren't in the arcade version at all, like things from Yuri, Duck King, Terry, Yori, Shingo, among others. Personally, this is one that annoys me the most that modern releases keep missing, especially in the case of SBC Chaos, which only has 2 color palettes. This feature alone will keep people in the game for hours. When I see replays from old school games, I wonder how it would be like if they all had color edit. It will give each player their own degree of personality when playing online, outside of their fighting style, of course. People say I overhyped this feature, but you have no idea how much good PR this feature has given to City of the Wolves, which, let's be real, that game didn't have much of it. Hopefully, City of the Wolves itself is an indication of what's to come in the future. In a good way, of course. I will be fair and point out that this one hasn't been as much of an issue recently. Most re-releases have been consistently adding extra characters. Real Bout 2 did have Alfred after all. However, you already have a version with this included. If you do not know, the PS2 version of 11 included many characters like Mr. Big, Hotaru, and Mai, of course, from the game Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. Because of their exclusivity to the console ports, the characters are quite underexplored. The PS2 version is already a perfect recreation. down to the tiny details, to the point that this is the one that is used to practice for tournaments. This is not a port that is only affirmed by people who grew up with it. This is a port that is highly affirmed and supported by the actual community. It doesn't get played on not because it is disliked or it has bad performance or anything, but because it is easier to run arcade machines. I'm not kidding. I mean, most places where tournaments are held are arcades. They already have machines for other games, so why not just use them? If there was a re-release for the PS2 version, then this one will become the tournament standard with no problem, because it can still run the original arcade balance, as well as the arranged balance, which is another aspect of the game that is still incredibly underexplored. Even if there are certain differences between the PS2 version's arcade balance and the actual arcade game, the devs can work with the community to spot those differences and fix them. We already have a precedent for this. Particularly, the new characters from the PS2 port will need fixing since they're incredibly buggy and thus not used for tournament play. Outside of the obvious inclusion of rollback and the aforementioned fixing of the PS2 characters, the port should use the Japanese version as its base, because that version runs at 480p and it already has online included, which could possibly make the transition to newer systems, a lot smoother. Just add the translations, of course. Features like hitboxes, damage, and stun indicators will be a very welcome addition. It is crazy hard to lab this game because it is too niche for people to make mods that allow you to look at all this information. So having that information added will be really helpful. Having some dip switches for the music and stages will be amazing. One of my personal gripes when playing not just 11, but every KOF game before KOF 12 is how you basically always play in the same stages and can never access the boss stages and music because, well, they're bosses, so you cannot access it. It would be nice to have an option that will truly randomize as far as music and stages, especially because in the arcade balance, you cannot access the new stages. The last one is a wishful thinking thing, but I believe it would be a crazy neat idea. I think they should introduce a mode or a way to have both arcade and arranged balance played at the same time. Kind of like how Super Turbo lets you play with old characters. Some people may think this is pointless because everyone sees arcade balance as infinitely superior, but I believe that is because arranged itself it's very underexplored. I hear people saying that it removes the OTGs and anywhere juggles. The latter is true, but I confirm that the former is false. I think people likely overreact to the negative changes too quickly because of the obscurity of 11 and especially of the PS2 version, and thus giving it a chance just seems pointless. But I think a mode like this could breathe new life into it. I mean, the EO balance from CVS2 was incredibly disliked up until recently when it became the standard for online play. So maybe the arrange can be looked at it again, since, it did buff some weaker characters. We have been talking about KOF 11 for a while and a re-release, but the question is it even possible? It has not happened for a while and SNK has not really talked about it whatsoever. Does it even have a chance of being re-released? The answer is yes, question mark. It seems that many are confused on what the situation regarding 11 actually is, and I wanted to give you guys what I found so far. There are rumors that it is because the source code itself was lost. This is a lie. There's no evidence or official statement that supports this, so if anybody keeps running with this, just know this is false. Here's what I could find regarding. This is addressed by Lauren Bernesi, manager of development for retro games at SNK.
We have been hearing that for years, so this is something we will keep in mind. Yeah, KOF 11, right? Yeah, we are aware about that. Yeah.
Now, here's an interview that he did with the Band Hubs at September of last year. There are still some notable titles like Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, the Kino Fighters Maximum Impact, and especially the Kino Fighters 11 that haven't received new re-releases yet. Are there any reasons as to why we haven't seen those games again? As these titles were developed for game systems different from SNK's Neo Geo platform, we will need to consider the technical requirements to bring back those fan favorite titles to the latest gaming platforms. In conclusion, it seems that KOF 11 and the other Atom S Waves games are coming, but they may just take some time. This could be due to licensing issues with either Sony/Sega, or in the case of the console ports, Sony and Microsoft for the games that did get Xbox ports like Neo Wave and Battle Coliseum. Let's hope they bring the console ports, right? And not perfect arcade ports. It seems that SNK is aware that people want this and will probably happen. What we do not know is to what extent they know people want this. Is this really something they see as a priority in the retro gaming space? I believe that we need to put some extra pressure. What I suggest to do is the following. Follow the accounts that do 11 content and retweet it, share it, whatever you can do to spread awareness. Whether it's a cool clip, fan art, or anything, just put it out there on Facebook groups or whatever. Do what you can to spread awareness. These are some people or some channels that produce content that is related to KOF 11. If you know any others, feel free to share them and promote them. The growing interest has to be made apparent. I will say join the Discord server too, but after some recent news, I can totally understand if you want to stay away from Discord. If you have a GOG account, you can actually vote for 11 in the Dream List. For those of you who don't know what it is, well, GOG is a digital storefront just like Steam, except they promote games that are DRM free, meaning you actually own the games and don't need online to play them. They are huge promoters of game preservation, and their Dream List is a way they use to gauge interest in what games they need to bring back. Good news is that KOF 11 is currently the #1 KOF game, even above KOF 15 and 13 Global Match. The bad news is that it is only under 700 votes. GOG does not have a specific threshold, but it is safe to assume that we're gonna need a lot more if we want to get their attention. And please, do not bot the votes. GOG are great, but they're not stupid. They are still a business, which means they need to work with real numbers, especially considering they're working with someone else's IP. They will look into the votes legitimacy. That is true. It has happened before that they have shut down campaigns, so please just share with more people. Don't do more beyond that, right? Last thing you can do is play the game. Go to Fightcade, go to tournaments, buy the game on the PSN store on the PS3, the Japanese one, by the way. Basically, just show up. These are numbers that SNK can see go up. As a matter of fact, KOF 11 will be coming to EVO Las Vegas this year as a side event. So if you're already going to EVO this year, sign up. Just please sign up, even if you're not good at the game. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and that's gonna be it. See you guys later. Bye bye.